Good evening and welcome to Digital Woodcarver. My name is Laney Shaughnessy and Happy New Year. Welcome back. Welcome to 2023. Welcome back to Spindle TV. I appreciate you all. We are going to get started here in a few minutes, but in the meantime, I wanted to pop in early and say hi to you all and see how you're doing. Brooks, just since you're here early and everything, I got your email on the pseudo stained glass that you're trying to do. I'm not going to be able to do any answering of that question in this class because I didn't get to it till late, and I still need to wrap my head around what it is that you're actually trying to do and carve, and to be able to properly answer you. I know you were worried about the Tyndalls, I think that's what they're called, Tyndalls. I had to look that word up, by the way. But the little vines, the little stringy vines coming off of a crawling, vine. So I found out what the definition was. But I know you were worried about the size of them and them chipping and everything. I'm thinking a draft is going to be the way to go, but I didn't have time to really get into it and dig into it to be able to give you a proper answer. It's going to take some time for me to wrap my head around because it looked like you were doing an outline of a carve and carving some areas where you were filling in the grapes, let's say, with your, a colored epoxy and then a clear epoxy on top of that. So there's a lot of different cavities and stuff. I just have to wrap my head around it. It's not a project that I've ever seen or, seen before, or, I don't have an answer for it right now. So unfortunately, I'm not. I know you said, question for your next class. I'm just not going to be able to answer it in this class. I will get an answer back to you. It might be in the next class, or it just might be a one-on-one kind of thing. So welcome, Roger. I got your question. You'll be your question, Roger, will be the first one coming up, and we'll jump into that first thing. But hey, Kevin Wilkerson, how are you doing? So while we're waiting for others to join, we don't start till 7:15. We got a few minutes. How was y'all's holidays? Everybody safe and sound and doing okay? And you ready for the new year? I'm ready for the new year. I thought I was going to be going to the woodworking shows with Digital Woodcarver on the earlier shows in January, but they're going to be taking care of the first 3 shows, so I'm not going to make it to Baltimore. Brooks, I think you were the one that said you were trying to make it to the show, but I'm not going to actually be there. Digital Woodcarver, they're going to be the local guys up north are going to handle the shows and stuff. So I'm not sure which one I'll be doing first off, but I will be talking with the woodworking shows, not this year. It's a little late in the game for this year, but I'm hoping that possibly I'll be an instructor next year, actually teaching CNC workshop at the shows that people can sign up for and stuff and get some hands-on one-on-one time and stuff, and not one-on-one, but group, but hands-on time and some learning and education. I teach some classes we do, at the shows. If we have time, we'll do a seminar or something, but this would be in, actual classes. So I'm looking forward to those discussions for the 2024 year of the woodworking shows. We missed out this year. The discussion started, but they started a little bit too late. There's no way to get, make time for that. So, and everybody's starting to pop in. Hello, Michael Murphy. Happy New Year. Hello. Hey, Ronnie, Probert, Chris, Kool-Aid. What's happening? Michael, David, everybody's popping in now. Good. We were just sitting here having a little talk and everything while we're waiting for other people to pop in and all. So, basically, hope you had a good holiday break, if you will. If you got a chance to take a break during the holidays that just passed, and hope you had a good New Year's. Hope you're ringing in the year okay. Family's healthy and happy and all that stuff. And yeah, so This is going to be a Q&A, guys. I don't actually have a project. You know, normally during a Q&A, I'm working on a project in the background and everything. So this event might be a short one. It could be a long one, not sure. But it's all going to depend on you. We've got your questions. I'm going to do my best to answer your questions. If you have a question, you can throw a couple of question marks in front of it, or you can do a super chat kind of thing where it pins your question up at the top. Super chats help support the channel and stuff, so keep that in mind. Super stickers and super chats. But also, just all you have to do is just type a couple of question marks before your question, so I can visually identify those questions in the chat, and we go from there. If you want to help, support the channel and all that stuff, and me and the efforts that we have here, then the super chats and the super stickers, those little donations help out quite a bit, so we appreciate them always. All right. So let's start off. We're going to start off with a question that Roger threw in first thing when he got here. And so let's jump over to the channel and let's see what we got going on here. So I believe I am working on channel 2. There we go. And let's get me down in the bottom left corner. Wonderful. All right. I got to work on my lighting. My little boxes. My lighting is not kicking in like it should. Okay. The question that Roger posted was, he was asking in Aspire, and this is also not just for Aspire, but also for Vectric V-carve Desktop and Pro as well, a 3D finish cut. In the 3D finish machining toolpath, it has a resting machining coarse or fine option. What exactly, when you adjust that, what exactly are you setting? So let's look at what he's referring to first of all. In the 3D finish toolpath, in versions 11.5, I think 11 had added the rest machining in to the toolpath. And let's start with, first of all, what is rest machining? Well, before version 11 came out, we didn't have the ability to use multiple bits in our finishing toolpath of our 3D models. We used one bit. It was either a large diameter bit or a smaller diameter bit, depending on the detail that we needed to get. Now, Aspire back then had the ability to do a feature called rest machining, meaning that a user could create a toolpath with a larger bit and then come back and touch up the detail areas with a smaller bit, basically the rest of the model or the design that the larger end mill couldn't get to because the radius was too big. So it was referred to as rest machining, doing the rest of that project. Well, because it became so kind of in demand and popular and everything, Vectric has included that in the finishing toolpath now. We can add more than one bit to the finishing toolpath, depending on the detail we have in our project. And then we have the ability to adjust how much of the detail that the toolpath focuses on. So in the case that you see here on the screen, I have a 1/8 inch tapered ball nose bit and a 1/16 inch tapered ball nose bit for this 3D model. I'm using the model as the boundary, and on the machining, the rest machining, I could adjust this to for that detail area that it's going to carve, that 1/16 of an inch bit. Is it going to focus more kind of on a coarse, a little bit of a, not really get too overly detailed, but get down into some of the areas and clean them up that the bigger bit couldn't get to? Or are we going to do a fine touch up to where, 2/10,000ths of an inch, where it's really going to try to, wherever that smaller bit can fit, it's going to really touch up down to that 2/10,000ths of an inch if that bit can get in there and really clean up. So let's see what that looks like in the terms of the toolpath itself when it's calculated. So first of all, we will do a calculation with a coarse detail and the minimum detail, which is 4/1000ths of an inch. And so let's go ahead and calculate that. And the toolpath is going to go through and it's going to calculate both of those bits, the 16th inch and the 8th inch. 8th inch is going to be the first bit. It's going to basically be, in this case, the rough cut bit. And let's take a look at, first of all, the larger bit is going to be doing a majority of the detail, just, you know, covering that whole area. The bigger bit, of course, is going to do the whole model, right? Well, in those larger areas, there's areas that diameter, that 1/8 inch diameter, cannot get into. So in the rest machining, the smaller bit is going to be able to get down into those little nooks and crannies and crevices and things. And so how much of the detail that it tries to do, is dependent on that coarse or fine setting. So this is about 4 thousandths. So it's just going to kind of touch up some of those creviced areas and stuff and pretty much just focus on that. Now, let's go back. So kind of keep this, let's turn this a little bit sideways here and kind of keep these blue areas. That's that 16th inch bit doing those crevice areas and stuff. Keep this visual in your mind. It's going to be a little bit hard to do this, but keep your visual in your mind. We're going to go back into this tool path and we're going to recalculate. We're going to set it to 2/10,000ths of an inch minimum detail. So get down where you can get down. Now, if I was using an even smaller bit, 32nd inch taper bonos, then you would really see that minimum detail come into play. But again, it's only going to get down to what that 1/16 of an inch taper bonos can get to. But let's calculate this. So give it a moment to calculate. Okay, now let's turn off, let's come back in here. Once again, that 3D finish is doing that finish work, but now let's go back into that detail area and you can see it's coming in, and not only is it doing those crevice areas, but it's actually getting some more of those areas, some of those larger areas, that finer detail that you know, that larger bit couldn't get to. It's getting some more of that finer detail really touching it up. You should be able to see how it's kind of trickling down into the surface areas here where just a little bit more detail could have been had, but the 1/8 inch bit didn't do it, right? So it basically just, you know, spreads the love, right? So it lets that 1/16 of an inch bit kind of get in there and clean up a lot more. So when we are adjusting that coarse or fine, we're saying, hey, I want to touch up the detail to an extreme, you know, the best of the as much as that bit can handle. Or I just want to kind of just touch up a little bit, right? So that's what we're adjusting. And again, if I were using a smaller bit, then that coarse or fine would really make a large impact. The fine would really be a lot more areas because it's really just going to kind of go back over a lot of the areas that the 1/8 inch bit did and just do a finer detail, right? So we may not need to go to that extreme. Some models we do, but it's just going to get into more of those areas and everything to clean them up. So that's what we're adjusting, that finer or coarse detail. You know, what are we letting that bit really kind of focus on? All right, Roger, let me know if that answered your question. Hopefully it did, because that's about the best answer I got for it. All right, so Brooks, all right. Brooks has a question that says, okay, generally, the V-carve engraving toolpath, shouldn't the V-bit never exceed the lines no matter how the flat cut depth is set? Shouldn't the V-bit never exceed the lines no matter how the flat cut depth is set? I'm going to assume... Let's turn this model off for a minute. Now, I'm going to assume when you say should never exceed the lines that you are referring to the vector lines of the design. So in this case, my lines for my Q&A, right? So when I have a a start depth, and I'm going to go with a 1/8 inch flat depth, I'll use a 60-degree V-bit. We'll go in and choose the white side 1541. I like that bit. And I'm going to use an 1/8 inch end mill. Regardless of how that toolpath is set, your question is should the V-bit not exceed the lines? Well, it shouldn't exceed the lines. So I'm not sure where you would see an instance where it would exceed the lines. The V-bit is going to, not there. Sorry, the V-bit is going to, do all the edge work, of the vectors and all, regardless of if there's a flat depth or no flat depth. So let's turn this off and recalculate that as well, and come back here and all. We should never exceed the lines. If you zoom in and you're seeing this here, that is just it's just going to be the preview, the simulation and everything. The V-bit is not actually exceeding the line. So if you're looking at and you're zooming in really, really, really wide, you see, if you can, I don't know if you can see this, but you see how I'm not exceeding the lines here, but I'm exceeding the line there and everything. That's just going to be, it's a not a glitch in the matrix, but that's just the preview. The toolpath, when we're zoomed out here, in a normal view, we are not exceeding those lines. So if that's what you're seeing and you're assuming that it's exceeding the lines because you're seeing that, it's not. Okay? All right. Let me know if that answers your question, Brooks. That's just the preview. If you notice, we have where it kind of, comes in and, some places is exceeding, some places is not and everything, and that's just in the preview. It's in the simulation. Okay. All right. Let me know if that answers your question, Brooks. Good enough, everyone. How much does it cost to upgrade to Aspire, and do you require Windows 11 to operate it? So, Ronnie, if you have Vectric V-carve Pro and you're upgrading to Aspire from Pro, it's $1,300 US. I'm not sure what the Canadian conversion is because you're in Canada, so you can look it up. Vectric.com, and you can look at upgrade and you can look at the prices and everything. But it would be a $1,300 upgrade US. There would be a Canadian conversion as well. If you have Vectric V-carve desktop and you're upgrading and you're jumping over Pro and to Aspire, it would be a $1,625 US. Again, look at the prices on Vectric.com, and you'll see the Canadian conversion for you. And no, you do not require version 11 of the Windows V11. You do not require Windows 11 to operate it. It still operates in Windows XP or Vista to Windows 11. Okay, cool. Michael Kratchke, no, I will not be in West Springfield next weekend, this coming weekend and everything, or next weekend. Digital Woodcarver will let me know what show I'll be attending, and then I'll let everyone else know. But they're handling the first few shows for the month to get back into it, because there's an expense to have me out at the show, flying out, rental cars, airplane tickets, meals, and all that stuff, hotel. So they have to look at costs, keeping their costs down and everything, so the show's beneficial to them. And if their guys locally up north in Indiana and everything can handle it, the brothers, Burl Tishner and Terry Tishner and some of the guys, without needing me to fly out, then they won't fly me out. If they need me to attend the show because one of them can't make it, then they'll fly me out and stuff. All right. Thank you very much, Brooks. I appreciate you with that super chat. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see here. We've got... and Happy New Year, everybody that's popping in late and everything. Happy New Year to you all. And we appreciate you. Michael asked the question, Laney, I was going to send you an email earlier today and ask if we are having a class this evening. Thank you. And by the way, I'll see you Friday afternoon at the show. Unfortunately, Michael, I will not be there at the show. Digital Woodcarver is not going to have me out at the first show. I'm not sure which show they'll have me come out to. But still go to the booth, see everybody. You know, spread the word. All right, let's see here. Heartland, America, were the R2L and the L2R codes ever uploaded? Yes. If you have a digital woodcarver and the you're using Planet CNC, you can download the latest files and everything from digitalwoodcarver.com from the supports and downloads page from the software setup files 2022 column, and you can update your software. You should have done that. You should have done that by now, because in August, if you are a digital woodcarver customer, you'll know you went through a license issue back in August, and you had to do a patch repair. Well, after that patch repair, to get that license, missing or invalid straightened out, the software files and everything, the uploads and updates and all for the versions after that patch repair were released on the Digital Woodcarver website. So under support and downloads, the 2022 column, choose your machine and choose your downloads, and the new features in the profiles are there. If you need help, you can call me one-on-one, and I can connect with you on TeamViewer like I do with all the customers, and I can update it for you. All right, Heartland American, hopefully that answered your question. All right. I don't think anyone's experiencing any buffering right now, Ronnie. I'm not experiencing any buffering on my end. First time for everything. Knock on wood. Where's a piece of wood? I don't have a piece of wood. Oh my goodness. Knock on wood. We'll see. But right now we're not buffering. Stream is doing very well. All right. So, Michael has a good request. Laney, can we look at Woodsmith CNC Basecamp episode 14 where 3 tables are made? Can we do these 3 tables as a class project? I will take a look at that. I would, if you're talking about like actual tables, I wouldn't want to take someone else's work. I would want to refer people to their episode, right? Their YouTube channel. As a YouTube content creator, I don't want to take, money and views from people's mouths. But I'll take a look at that. I'll see if I can put my spin on it. And yeah, I'm always looking for good class ideas and everything. But if I were to just do their tables, then I wouldn't do that. I would just refer you to their episodes. But absolutely, thanks for the referral. I'll definitely look into it. And I will keep that posted. Episode 14. Woodsmith. CNC. We'll take a look at that. All right. Let's see here. Happy New Year, David Pingle. Let's see, Richard Hudson. Can you talk about spindle upgrades? Think I'm upgraded to a water-cooled spindle. What are the plus and minuses for this option? Does the CNC Planet software still turn on and off? Yes. So, this one is more of a a direct kind of digital woodcarver question. I'm assuming, Richard. Water-cooled spindles. We have two water-cooled spindle options: a 1.5 kW water-cooled spindle and a 2.2 kW water-cooled spindle. The 2.2 kW water-cooled spindle is a 3 horsepower water-cooled spindle. It is 220 volts. So your 110 volt setup right now, it would require you upgrading or adding, not upgrading, adding a 220 circuit in there as well, so that the circuit for the VFD variable frequency drive and the spindle can plug in. The 1.5 kW water cooled spindle, about a 2 horsepower, a little under 2.25. It is still a 110 power. So the difference between the two is the 1.5 kW, besides the horsepower, the 1.5 kW water cooled spindle can use 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch shank router bits, while the 2.2 kW water cooled spindle can use 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, and 1/2 inch shank router bits. Difference between a router and a spindle, night and day as far as noise, the audible level. The software does control the RPMs. Now, if you have an older system prior to 2015 or earlier, there would be some modifications required so that the software can control the RPMs and stuff. But if you have a fairly 2016 or present to present, yes, the software controls RPMs and all that. See, right now with your router, the RPMs are controlled by the dial on the top of the router. With a spindle, the software will control the RPM. So that'll mean that you need to make sure that your Vectric tool database is current and your settings, your spindle settings, your RPM settings and everything are set. So that you're getting the proper chip load and everything like that. So it's going to make you have to focus more on your machining skills. You're not just creating a design in a tool path and picking a tool and going and running it. You're now going to be thinking about your chip load and the RPMs that bit, which you should be doing anyway. You're just manually doing it with the spindle, with the router dial and all. You should be doing that now, but it's really going to make you focus on it because in the tool path, the RPM settings, when you select that tool, it's not only going to be doing the feeds and speeds, but also the RPMs and everything. So it's going to make you focus more on machining, skills, and you got to step up a little bit and stuff. You're upgrading one quieter, longer run times without having to cool down. Those are the benefits and everything. But it's also going to make you have to step up your game as a machinist and really focus and learn about, speeds and feeds and chip load and things. Cool. All right. Let's see here. Good questions. Hey, Michael. Okay. Heartland American. Michael. Good. Hey, Michael, thanks for popping in. Michael Akon, everybody. Michael is one of my, he's such a huge help in the Digital Woodcarver Owners Group and Facebook. Michael, thank you for all that you do over there, by the way. Hope you're doing well. All right, let's see here. Hey, Fred Grover made it. Good, Fred. Glad you're here. Yeah, Brooks. Okay, the vectors are, yeah, so just keep in mind, it's in the simulation. I can talk to Vectric about that and kind of point that out to them and see, if they have if that's something that they're even going to bother with trying to, clean up. But it's really not. When you're looking at it from a distance, you're not supposed to cross over any lines. And I'll talk with them and just kind of say, hey, does this mean anything? Because it's not supposed to, All right, let's see here. All right, let's see. If you have questions, guys and girls, throw some question marks in there. You can use the super chats and supers Stickers as well too, but throw some question marks in there so I can find them easier in the chat. Just makes it go a lot smoother. Let's see here. Software was updated. Codes aren't allowed to be edited. Sure they are. Michael Akon. Yes, because you have to edit the R2L and the laser L2R. You have to edit those to put in your offset numbers. You're going to go into C drive, profile or program files, Planet CNC, and let's say mill mode to do the laser to, or router to laser position. When you're in the mill mode profile folder on your C drive in program files, go to user CMD, click on the router to laser G code, right click on it to open with Notepad, and you can make your adjustments. And now when you save it, you cannot save it back into the same folder. You have to do file save as and save it as an all files type, but you save it on your desktop or in your documents. You have to save it into a completely different folder and then drag and drop or copy and paste it back into that profile folder, that user CMD folder. It won't let you save directly to the folder. Sorry about that. It won't let you save directly to the folder. You have to save it to a different folder and then copy and paste it or drag and drop it or move it, that kind of thing. Hopefully that helps you out there. And if you need to, get with me one-on-one and I'll show you. Bum, 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 bum. Michael Blake or Mike Blake, if you put lettering on a pre-drawn clip art, does it rise or fall with the clip art elevations? Okay, so yes, as long as you project that toolpath onto the 3D model. So if you look at any of the 2D toolpaths, right above the calculate button there is project toolpath onto 3D model. Meaning, let's say that I have, I'm going to grab just a, just going to grab a dome for a minute. And I'm going to take my Q&A and I'll size it down. Let's, we'll get rid of the grapes right here. Okay, let's undo these toolpaths. All right. Let's get her centered. Align to center. There we go. All right, so if I were to calculate the Q&A toolpath, oops, hold on, I gotta fix my height on my model. It's exceeding my material thickness. 0.75. Okay. All right, if I were to calculate that Q&A on the toolpath without projecting onto the model, and I were to create the toolpath carving for this model, let me do that. Bear with me just a second. Give me 2 seconds. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, let's do a 3D finish cut. I'm going to just use 1 bit. I'm going to use the model as the boundary just for this educational purpose, and do it as a raster cut. Calculate. Stand by while that calculates. All right, preview that visible toolpath. Not that toolpath. let me stop that. Let me turn the simulation quality down just a little bit to make it a little bit faster. We'll go high. And let's look at this again. So on that Q&A, I did not project it down onto the 3D model, right? So notice when that model carves and everything, it has removed on those lower areas, it's removed those part of those letters and all. As long as you project that 2D toolpath on to the 3D model, then it will follow the contour of that curve and everything. Okay? Okie dokie, dokie dokie. So let's look at that again. Preview the visible toolpath. You would not run your V-carve first, but all right, so it will follow that contour, that curve and all. All right, so project, that's the key word, project onto the 3D model. All right, let's see here. Great question, Mike. Hopefully that answered. Let me know if that answers your question. Okay. Okay, great, Michael. So Michael let me know that at the episode 14 are free downloads. So we'll take a look at that, and yeah, we'll see what we can do with that. Fred Laney, would a step inverter work for the 220 spindle with the DWC? It turns the power. Yes. So Fred Grover asked the question. So imagine if you're in your shop, you only have 110 power, and you want to upgrade to a spindle. You want the benefit of having that 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, and 1/2 inch shank capacity and all, but you don't have 220 in your shop. You can use a power inverter, a 110 to 220 or 220 to 110. That goes both ways. But you can use a power inverter to plug into your 110 circuit, plug the 220 circuit into that, and it will create that 220 circuit to run your spindle and everything. Absolutely. Do I have any recommendations on one? No, but they're available on Amazon, and they run around $250, you know, for a decent one and everything. But 5,000 amps or 5,000 watt. Try to get around 4,000 to 5,000 watt on that converter. Okay. So yes, Fred, great question. Good. Hopefully that answered it. Let's see here. Happy New Year, Richard Allender. Let's see. How would you approach auto tool setting routine? So, how would I approach an auto tool setting routine? Well, in the you want my code? I write the code for Planet CNC for that. So give me a second. Let me go into 2440 V2 mill mode. Let me see if this is the current version. Yes. No. It'll work. Okay. So we have a quickset zeroing block at Digital Wood Carver, and the codes to do the auto touch off for X, Y, and Z. Those are written, and also doing, you know, coming back and touching off and setting Z on tool changes and everything. So those codes are written and everything, and I've written them for Planet CNC. I'll give you a sneak peek of that, but let's see here. This PC, C drive, program files. Planet CNC profiles. 2440 V2 mill mode, user command, and let's see here. Tool change. Edit with Notepad++. So the code and everything for that operation, all the faults and things, you know, all the safeties and securities, you know, if it crashes and all that stuff, you need to, you know, make sure that you would program that into it. And then the logic, well, that's kind of the logic. And then the actual commands itself that do the operations and set that XYZ 0. So it's a code that that I've created for our touch off tool for Planet CNC, and it's written in a it's written in the, let me see if the manual's still good here. G-code manual. Let me see if it opens up. Stand by. I haven't been able to get that manual to open up recently. Give me a second here. Planet. Give me just a second here. Planet -CNC G code manual. Stand by 2 seconds. I'm pulling it over, pulling it up, pulling it over. Maybe I'm pulling it over. Okay, that was not it. User manual. Let me see here. Stand by 2 seconds. Let me see if they've combined the G-code manual and the user manual together. No, they didn't. Stand by. Stand by. We're getting there. We were good up to that point. Okay, so their manual is hiding somewhere. I don't know where it is. So, oh, hey guys, you still with me? Lost you there for a minute. Okay, but based on their commands within the software, their operation commands. So all of these settings, shortcuts. So all of these commands and controls and things, the different things that the software does, there's a way, they have it written out like a script. And the way the script is, you know, formulated, it's like almost like computer programming, just you're using their predetermined integers and all that stuff, and you know, their commands and all. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how I would approach it. We have a tool for that. But I will say this, Chris Leach. I actually like on our approach for XYZ touch off on the quick set block. Let's pretend that this is the quick set block here, and let me get me back. Let me get me back up a little bit bigger. Okay, so let's imagine this is the quickset block, which is not. But the bit comes in and it touches off X, moves around the corner, touches off Y, raises up, and sets Z. Now, in order for the start position, there's a start position that, you know, that the user has to be at, a starting point for that XYZ touch off. Now, when you're setting Z on tool changes, it doesn't matter where the user is on the table. It'll automatically bring the router, the CNC back over to the quickset block to set the Z. But on that initial touch off, there's a starting point where a user has to be a certain, you know, location, and it will come in and it will program from there. Now, I believe, oh man, what CNC company is that? Dadgummit. There is a CNC manufacturer. Daggum, man, it just slipped my head. There's a CNC manufacturer that they've got a quick set type of block too, but their block, it kind of doesn't matter where you start at. It will come in and it does inside touches, and it does the math and everything to get that outside, you know, position and all. But I like the approach. I like the approach. There was a reason why I like the approach. I'm talking about it, and there was a reason for it. It would require a complete rewrite of all my scripts to approach it the way they did, but it was such a smart approach. What the hell did it do? All right, I'm gonna take you guys on a journey with me. We're gonna surf the net here just for a second. Let me bring the window over because it's a smart approach to the design. And it's a smart approach to the design. I'm gonna go to youtube.com. Don't ever put, you should never have beverages near your keyboard. I got clumsy today, first time ever. I'm usually very cautious about that. I spilt my sweet tea all over my keyboard, and I cleaned it very quickly and everything, but when that stuff dries, it gets very sticky. So now I've really got to tear my keyboard apart, and because hanging it upside down just didn't do it. All right, so I like all these search settings and all. Go to my videos. Let's see here. Quick set. No, I don't want to go to. That's the wrong channel. What was there? CNC touch block. One build. That's the name of the company. One build. So the one build, these guys, man, they got some cool stuff. One build does. I got to give them credit. I like their I like some of the accessories that they have. One build touch block. And yeah, here it is, the touch block. Here's I'm gonna tell you what. Now, if you know, you never want to steal someone's idea or whatever, but man, they got this slick LED light programmed into their block that when it touches, and it's a good touch off, it lights up green. Oh, I love it. But let's go. Let me get my big head out of the way. Let's bring me down here. They've got this nice little LED board that plugs into their system and everything, that it lights up when the thing touches. But let's actually get to the tool censoring of it all. All right. So their approach, let me stop this. All right, here's what I like about them. Their approach is that you're going to instead of doing X, Y, then Z, you're putting the bit in the center of the block. You're touching Z first. So it's identifying the top of the block and setting that Z position. So now it knows where the top of that block is and it's already set it and everything. But from there, it has a certain distance. So the code that they would write would say, okay, from here, move X this far, Y this far, right? So after the touch off, it moves out a certain distance. Stop, pause, pause. It moves out a certain distance away from the block and then moves its way back in to set the X and then around the corner set the Z. I like that approach. With us, this position right now that you see on the screen where the router is right now, that's the starting position for our quick set block. So that's the starting point. And then when you hit start, it touches, moves around the corner, touches, raises up and touches off. I like the idea. I love the idea. Not like, I actually love the idea of it starting in the center of the block and setting Z first. So if I were to change it, I would go this approach. Touch off the Z first, and then depending on the size of my block, it moves a certain distance away, comes down a certain distance because it already knows where the top of the block is, comes down a certain distance, and then works its way back and touches X, around the corner touches Y. I like that approach. And what I love about this is when it touches off, which you can't see, unfortunately, but there's a green light that lights up. It illuminates. You know, I'm surprised you couldn't see it there, because in the other video it showed it well. But it lights up, and it's like you visibly can see that it was a good touch off because it lit up and everything. It was just that continuity closing. So, long story short, to answer that question, Chris, how would I approach the touch off? I would strongly look at one build's approach. I like this approach. We're set on the outside of the block and we touch X first, Y, then Z. I like the approach of Z first, because that sets the height of the block. Now I know where I can move out a certain distance and I'll clear my side. It doesn't matter. And then I'm just moving back in to set that X and then come around to set the Z. I like this approach. And if I were to ever rewrite my script or codes, I would reverse it, and this would be the approach that I would take. It makes this setup so much easier as far as I don't have to make sure I'm at the right spot or this or that or anything. I can just come over into the center of my block, hit my button, and then do my touch off. Right? So, hopefully that answers your question. All right, let's see here. Let's close that up, and let's come back here. All right. So, all right, guys, I see questions in here with my name and stuff, but no question marks. Make sure you get question marks in front of those questions so I can identify them much easier. But Chris Leach, if you're still listening or if you're still watching, hopefully that gave you some kind of insight. Chris also asked the question, do you mount your VFD away from your motion controller PCB? Our control box, it sits on a shelf under the table, and the VFD sits right next to it. A user can mount it on the side of their frame of their unit if they want to, or on their workbench, whatever they have. But the VFD just sits right next to our control box on our shelf. Okay, so Fred came back and said, so with the water-cooled spindle and the tools, is there a chart for the feeds and speeds recommended RPMs used for different bits and carves? Initially, with the digital wood carver, I can't speak for other companies or whatever, with the digital wood carver, you have a digital wood carver tool library with pre-programmed tools, speeds and feeds and everything, and recommended speeds and feeds for those tools that you will install into your Vectric software the first go-around. From there, as you become more and more involved in your machining skills and abilities and everything, you're going to be making notes, on, using the default settings and everything, but observing audibly and visually what's actually happening at the table. Hey, I could actually run a little faster. I need to actually run a little slower. And you have that control. You can turn down the RPMs or increase the RPMs or turn down the feed rate or increase the feed rate all on the fly while it's carving and stuff. You can make those adjustments. But if you can visually see that, I need to slow down or I need to speed up, you can make those notes like, hey, in pine or oak or walnut or this or that, I want to be here with this bit versus here. And you can set up your tool database within Vectric by species of wood. Hardwood, softwood, plywood, melamine, MDF, all those kind of things, and oak and this and that. You can set up and you can customize beyond even more than what it already is customized. You can go beyond and really customize your speeds and feeds and everything. But it comes pre-initially with some preset settings for you. Let's see here. And there's two good videos that I recommend online when it comes to speed and feeds for mid-size units like the digital wood carver and stuff. Speeds and feeds with crisscross crafts and speed and feeds with cut in it loose. Cutting it loose in his thumbnail, he has a pile of sawdust and a pile of chips that says good and bad. And Crisscross Crafts has a bunch of Ziploc bags with sawdust in them on his speed and feed video for mid-size units and everything. Both of those I recommend to any new user that's kind of curious or learning about speeds and feeds and chip load and all. Those are the two videos that I send all my customers to look at. They're great. I don't have any personally videos on chip load and all that stuff. But Crisscross Crafts and Cutting It Loose. Those two videos are great. Okay. Michael Akon, if you're still here, sorry for your loss. Charlie Hall, Laney, does Vectric set the speed automatically based on the toolpath? No. When you are calculating a toolpath, when you select a tool from your tool database, the speeds and feeds that are programmed in to that tool database, based on, like with Digital Wood Carver, we have a library that you can import and all. But with the speed and feeds load up, that's where it gets the RPMs, the feed rate, the plunge rate, and everything. It does not automatically choose bits for you and say this is the best bit for you. And it does not set speeds and feeds for you and everything. That's something that you have to do. And most manufacturers will have a library, a tool database library that you can import in, and for your preset tools. In Digital Wood Carver, we do. So that was a good question. Oh man, these are great. We're filling it up, guys and girls. Some great questions. Now I had some drop off, so I lost a lot of people when I lost y'all earlier. Okay, let's see where we're at. We're getting down to it. No problem, Fred. Don't worry about those question marks. Well, worry about them now that you know. But no worry that you forgot. Let's see here. The preview isn't a concern. It's the actual toolpath run. Brooks, you'd have to get with me kind of one-on-one to show me your toolpath that's exceeding your vectors, if that's, because it would be unknown to me as to why, unless you have some kind of offset settings that would allow it to do that. I honestly don't know. Mike, get with me. When the class ends here in a little bit, if you're still up, call me. I'll put my phone number in the chat area. Numbers in the chat. Call me, and let's jump on TeamViewer, and I'll show you how to edit your files. All right, John Dolslager. I'm going to say Dolslager. John, if you're still here, new to CNC and V-carve, if I set up my Z0 as the machine bed and I have a workpiece that is less than 0.75, and I want a profile and put 0.75 inches, an inch deep cut, will it stop at the surface and start above the material? So this is a great question, and let me illustrate this the way I do with all the customers that I train. Let's imagine, if you will, I'm going to zoom in here. Let's imagine that this rectangle is your CNC's tabletop. And let's imagine that we have a waste board on that table, and then our project board is clamped to that. We have our router bit and our router. Now I'm going to select these three items by drawing a selection window from right to left. So anything that window touches, it selects them, because I want to align them to the center, and then I want to group them together using the group tool so I can move these around. Now, if I have just wung it, meaning I went to Lowe's, I bought a 1x board. I assumed that since I was buying a 1x that it was 3/4 of an inch, because most 1x's are all 3/4. But I didn't put any calipers on it. I just threw it up on the CNC machine. I set up the job, said it was 3/4 of an inch. I'm touching off on the material surface, and now I'm going to come over here and create my profile cut to cut. And I tell my cut to start at 0 and cut 3/4, right? So when I go to calculate that toolpath, my CNC, if the material surface is my 0 position, my CNC is going to cut from 0 down to 3/4. Now, if my board is slightly thicker than 3/4, then I'm not going to cut all the way through. If my board is slightly thinner than 3/4, now I'm cutting through and I'm spoiling my spoil board. Okay? So, for me, what I want is I want two guarantees when I'm cutting through my material. One, I always cut through my material, and two, I don't spoil my spoil board. Okay? So, for that job, I'm going to set up a Z0 position of the machine bed. Now, the machine bed is going to be whatever my project board is clamped to. So, in this case, it's clamped to the spoil board. So, my spoil board surface is the machine bed. Okay? So, the bottom of your project material is the material surface, or the machine bed, should I say. So, now, if I come in here and I've set my job up for 3/4, I've set my cut depth, start at 0, cut 3/4. None of that changes for me. I still start at 0, and I'm still telling it to cut 3/4. Well, the software is smart enough. It knows that the machine bed is my Z0 position. So it's going to, instead of cutting from 0 to 3/4, it's going to cut from 3/4 down to 0 and not below 0. Now, If my project board is slightly thicker than 3/4, that means that my first pass is going to be a little heavier than it should be. If my board was slightly thinner than 3/4, that means my first pass is going to be a little thinner than it should be, you know? So, but it's always going to cut through down to 0, the machine bed, the waste board. So I'm guaranteeing that I'll cut all the way through my material, but I'm not spoiling my spoil board. Now, some people that set some machinists and everything and CNCers, you know, they'll just, oh, I'm just going to throw it here and I'll go 0.8 or 0.79 or 0.76 or 0.77. And that's not proper machining. That's just, all that's doing is, okay, I'm just going to have it cut a little bit deeper so I know it cuts through. Well, what's happening is when it's cutting through and it's cutting that little bit deeper and it's spoiling the spoil board, which we don't want, but it's also doing something else. It's shortening the lifespan of my router bit. So the resistance on my bit cutting through my material and the resistance on my tip cutting into my spoil board are two different things. And depending on my speeds and feeds and RPMs and everything, I'm going to be building up heat on the tip of that bit. And heat is what kills the router bit, right? So now I'm dulling the tip just because I didn't have a set of calipers, or I didn't, set up the machining properly. I went off the material surface and I just added, 0.76, 0.77, 0.8, 0.85 just to guarantee that I cut through, right? That's just, and a lot of people do it. A lot of people do it. So I don't want to insult nobody, but it's lazy machining, right? So it is, be proper about it, because all you're doing is you're hurting yourself. You're hurting your spoil board, which now you got it, once it gets beat up and everything, you got to go back and resurface it or replace it, depending on how bad it's got damaged. And you're hurting your bits, and bits are expensive, right? So now I have a bit with a dull tip that I have to plunge into materials, to get cuts. And I'm not shearing through, I'm not cutting through, I am tearing through because the tip of that bit is dull because I'm not machining properly. So I'm a big advocate of use the machine bed when it's time for using the machine bed, and use the material surface when it's time for using the material surface. Now, if I'm setting up to do V-carves and stuff like that, I'd usually touch off on the material surface. But if I'm cutting through my material, and I know I'm cutting through, I'm using the machine bed as the Z0 position, because I want to guarantee I always cut through my material and I don't beat up my waste board. And my cut depth is going to be the thickness of whatever my job setup is. Not 10 thousandths more or 20 thousandths more or anything, right? Exactly what the thickness is. And use calipers, guys and girls. Be accurate as possible, but, I'm getting off my horse now. Don't get offended if I offended you because you're one of those ones that add the little extra here or there. It's just, it's all you're doing is you're hurting your bits, and you're machining your bed, your waste board and all that stuff. You're spoiling your spoil board, and you're wasting the life of your bits. Okay. So that was that. That was my lecture for the evening. Don't take me too badly. All right, let's see here. Hey, Bubba, how you doing? I'm glad you made it. Bubba, ask your question, which you did. Let me get down there and read it. Okay. Fred Grover says, I asked that question as we have a 220 volt water-cooled spindle now and wonder if it could be used with a DWC 2440 if we wanted to. So Fred, if you had a 2440 and you wanted to add your 220 water-cooled spindle, in, as long as you had the right connections and everything to connect the VFD inside the control box and everything, then yeah, you could. Okay, let's see here. Hey, Darwin Bradley, Happy New Year to you, buddy. All right, Bubba says, I have a 3D wavy flag model for V-carve Pro. I have, and I can change the shape height, but the eagle is too proud of the stars and stripes. Is there a way to split? I lost that whole question. Bear with me a second. Okay. My whole thing just jumped. Bear with me a second. Okay, I'm back. It jumped ahead really quickly. Is there a way to split the two objects so I can adjust the shape of the eagle and the stripes separately and use V-carve Pro software? Or will I need to upgrade to Aspire or another type of program? So, here's the deal. If I have an eagle on a flag and as an STL model created as one model, it's already baked together and I've purchased it as it is and I import it into Vectric V-carve Pro, I cannot separate the eagle from the flag. I cannot adjust the height of the eagle separate from the height of the stripes. When I adjust the overall height of the model, it's going to be the overall model height, and it's going to you're going to sacrifice detail because, you know, you're basically taking, you know, an item and squishing it, right? You know, when you're sizing it. Now in Vectric Aspire, I have the ability to remove material from the bottom of the model versus, you know, over just sizing the whole thing. I have the ability to remove material from the bottom of the model and reduce the model height by that amount of material. I also have the ability to size the height of the model without sacrificing detail within Aspire. But I still can't separate, if it's an item that I purchased baked together, eagle and flag, I still cannot separate the eagle from the flag even in Aspire. Now, if it was something that was side by side, I can split in Aspire. I can split a model and, you know, separate it, but I can't separate it like peeling one layer off the other. Just can't do it, Bubba. All right, so you're just going to have to size the whole thing or, you know, upgrade to Aspire and create your own models and then import eagles on top of those wavy flags and stuff. That's what I did with a customer the other day who had Aspire. They were trying to be able to remove something from a already existing model. Again, same scenario as you. I taught them how to build their wavy flag and then add to that eagles and emblems and things like that. Just made a lot more sense than trying to change something that just couldn't be changed. It was a baked item, you couldn't change it on an STL that they purchased. Okay, let's see here. But even in Aspire, I can't separate that way. If you had someone split it, I'm reading a comment that you wrote. You said you had someone split it in Aspire. You had the original creator split it, or you had someone else. And when they split, it wasn't a pill. It wasn't the eagle off the flag, right? You're talking about split that I talked about. You can split, right? Unless they... Because they had Aspire, they imported the model twice, took the eagle out of one, took the flag out of the other, and separated it that way. That would be another workaround that they could do. But let me know in the comments how you had them, you know, how they split it. Because you can't pill layers. So, let's see here. Yeah, and if you have two separate models now, eagle and flag, you can't import them into V-carve Pro. Only one, the eagle or the flag. Yes, go back to the original designer and see if they would modify or adjust it. A lot of them will. Gary Wolf cannot ask question. Question mark, cannot ask question. Gary Wolf, what are you trying to ask? I saw you state that you can't ask a question, but type it in. Type in whatever question you have. And yes, I have the split Mountain Dew on my keyboard. Yeah, right, Bubba. All right. I got a lot of, I'm trying to get through them all, guys. Stay with me. Stay with me. Let's see here. Stay with me. I'm staying. Let's see here. Mike Blake, are we going down a rabbit hole? What rabbit hole, Mike Blake? If you're referring to the question of the material surface of the machine bed, no. Just a rant. Let's see here. A good rant. It's an educational rant. Let's see here. Gary Wolf. Yes, I'm way under that. Thanks. Gary Wolf. Same issue. Shorten your question. All right. I'm getting down to your question, Gary. I can see it. It's coming up. It's coming up. Let's see here. Can you provide a link for that Touch Block Pro, Blaney? And are you thinking of doing that with the DWC models? That link, it's open builds. It works with their system, but you may be able to adapt it to another system. It's on Amazon. Open builds Touch Block. Yeah, I'm going to think about, I've been thinking about rewriting. It's a lot of code to rewrite. I mean, it took me, a long time to write the codes to begin with. But I like their approach. I wish I'd have thought of it. Smart. I went opposite, but smart. Let's see here. But open builds on Amazon. Open builds Touch Probe. Let's see here. Yeah, open build sounds better than what I have. Yeah, it's a good block. I love that, man. I went down to a computer electronics store that makes Arduino boards and all kinds of things, and I asked them to work with me on a touch board sensor like that with the LED lights. I want to design. I want that feature. It's a nice feature. When it touches off, it lights up to let you know you had a good touch off. I like that feature a lot. All right, let's see here. Okay, Gary Wolf. Here we go. When I cut stack text, I get an outline around the bottom text. Example, the 1/4 inch end mill and the 1/8 inch end mill, then the 16th inch end mill. If I take the 16th inch end mill and put on its own toolpath, then everything is fine otherwise. Okay, so you're saying that your 16th of an inch end mill is creating a little bit of an outline around the bottom of the letters because it's the final bit in the equation. You've got your big bit, your smaller bit, and then that small bit is coming, and it's creating a little bit of an outline. Well, that small bit is only doing really that outline area and everything. And here's the key, okay? What are your bits? Are they all upcut? Are they downcut? Are some of them upcut, some of them downcut? Are they straight bits? Because an upcut spiral bit that's pulling the chips up and everything, it is, because of the way that it's turning and carving and everything, it's pushing down into the material. It's almost like kind of drilling itself down into the material. And a downcut or an upcut spiral bit is. A downcut spiral is pulling itself up, so it actually cuts a little shallower than a downcut spiral, or an upcut spiral. Sorry, I'm getting confused here. An upcut spiral is pushing itself down, and a downcut spiral is pulling itself up, and it actually carves a little shallower and everything. Your smaller bit, depending on what the first two bits were and what they were doing and everything, your smaller bit is probably carving, because it's only carving that outline and everything. You can't really see the changes on the bigger part because it's not carving the bigger part. And if that, let's say that 16th inch bit is a down cut while the others are up cut, it's going to, carve shallower. Let's say it's an up cut while its others are down cut. It's going to carve the groove a little bit deeper. If your touch off is not precise between all three bits, you're going to have different cut depths throughout the procedure and everything. Your smaller bit, which isn't doing the big wide area, might be carving a little bit more different than your very small bit because of the touch off and things. I'm not sure. I don't know, your machine situation. Now, as far as why, if you separate the tool path, why it carves, differently, and everything is fine, that's an unknown mystery to me. I'm not sure. But one thing that I do to guarantee that all of my cuts are the same is I will zero out, like I do on the top of my surface, for my first cut. And I will carve. And let's say that my first cut was, or my full cut, top and bottom text was 1/4 inch deep, right? And when I do that first cut, that 1/4 inch end mill, it's going to do all the 1/8 inch all the way down to the 1/4 inch stuff. And then I'm going to change bits. Now, when I change bits to my 1/8 inch bit, I don't touch off on my surface, on my material. I move the bit into my cut, and I touch off in the bottom of that pocket that was created. And in my software, I come in and I program in that, hey, that is negative 0.25 inches. And I'm telling the software where my bit is at this place and time, that's negative 0.25 inches. So that way, when I raise up and I run that job, it's going to carve to that position. Not below it, not deeper, not shallower, to that depth. If I have a 1/16 of an inch bit after that, I change bits, I bring my 1/16 of an inch in, lower it down inside the pocket area, and again, I come in, I set my Z and say negative 0.25. I tell it that that's where it's at right there, so that's what it cuts to and everything. So my first bit, I'll touch off on the top of my material, but when I have a pocket cut with multiple bits, I want to guarantee that I don't have little outlines, or I want to guarantee that, things aren't right. And I'm worried that, maybe my touch off, between the three bits is not, if I'm using a touch tool or a touch block or something, there could be a glitch in the matrix, whatever the case may be. I want to guarantee, I like guarantees for myself. So I want to guarantee I'm cutting to the same depth every time. So on my second and third bit, I'm actually going down into the cut and programming that depth in, and that automatically sets the 0 for that bit. But now it knows where that depth is and it cuts. Maybe that'll work for you too, Gary. All right. Fred, I do not have a video on how different species of the woods are set up in the Vectric software, but I can give you a quick look-see. So in the tool database, here you have your material, your default material, and your tools, right? Well, if I want to add, I'll click on this little notepad right here, and I can add a new material, let's say walnut. And I can apply that, and now I have a new material there, and all of my tools have been transferred over to that material, but they're not set yet, so they're unset, meaning that I have to go in and choose a tool, and I have to copy the settings of that tool from my digital woodcarver library, so it copies them over, and then I can apply that, and I can make whatever adjustments I need to make for that species of wood or material and everything, and apply it. So now I brought that tool over. You can see how it's highlighted while the others are not. And, it's lit up here because that tool is now set, but I can adjust the settings for that species of material if I want to. Right? So that's all you do. That little notepad, you can add in your species of materials. Okay. Cool beans. All right, let's see here. Cutting it close. me see, because you might be right. Let me correct. Speeds and oh my gosh, this keyboard is terrible now. Let's come over here and scroll down, down, down. Cutting it close. You're 100% correct. I was wrong. It's not cutting it loose, ladies and gentlemen. It's cutting it close. C-U-T-T-I-N-I-T, close. Cutting it close. Cutting it close to the grain, right? So that should make sense. But he's got this picture of the sawdust and the powder, right? Good and bad. That's what you want. So thank you, Ernest. Thanks, Ernest, for pointing that out to me and correcting that. Cutting it close. Cutting it close to the grain. Right, there we go. We're getting through these questions. Gary Wolf says, I recently did a carve I got from you. Looks great on the screen, but had lots of trouble. Can we see some of your project's cuts? What do you mean, Gary? What project would you like to see? I don't do any carvings. I don't have any of my carvings. Everything I have, I sell. So what do you want to see? You need to get with me one-on-one. If you bought some projects from me and you're having issues with them, get with me one-on-one. Let's figure out what those issues are. They're not going to be in the design, so let's figure out what it is. All right, and we'll go from there. You can email me. I'll throw my email down in the chat down below. So here we go. Laney.Shaughnessy@spindletv.com. Get with me one-on-one. We'll connect. I'll remotely connect to your computer, and I'll go over your computer and settings and everything, your software designs, and we'll see what the issue is. We'll even carve a project together if you'd like. I'm not going to spend hours with you on it, but I'll spend some time with you on it, and I'll jump on with you through phases and stuff, but you should not have any issues with any designs I create. They're good. So get with me if you're having issues. We'll figure it out. All right. Email's in the chat. Scroll down and see the email. Dun, 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 dun. But no, you can't see any of my cuts. I don't have any projects right now. Let me see. I'll grab one off the wall. Well, here. I'll grab two here. Let me go grab another one. No, I'll use these two. Stand by, guys and girls. I'd use these two, but my mother painted them thinking that she was helping me out, and her paint job was not, they're kind of shit. So hold on a minute. I love you, Mom, but do better. Let's see here. Hold on, guys. We're going to go digging for a fucking project. Give me a second. No, this will be good. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on it. You can get with me one-on-one. All right. So, what do you? I'm not sure what you're wanting to see. What do you wanting to see? Gary, tell me what you're wanting to see, and I'll show you. What do you want to see? Let me know. Or get with me one-on-one. Okay. All right. Let's see here. How does OpenBuild's touch block account for different size bit diameters? I'm assuming that in that software, in that window, it's just like our software where you choose the diameter of the tool or you preset it in the tool size. I'm assuming it's going to be the same way. You have to program in the tool diameter. Oh, let's see here. How do you get the blue light from non-laser for XY to work? Peter H., if you're talking about the digital woodcarver laser, if you're in pick laser mode, it's S as in speed, 1. You hit enter, and when you turn on your laser, it'll turn on the non-burning beam. If you're in the old school laser mode, not pick laser mode, but laser mode, it's S 0.1. Then enter. Then turn your laser on. I should have clarified my question. The spindle speed set in the... Okay, it looks like we are back. The stream quality, we lost our stream, so, but it looks like we're back. All right, so it's going to take a minute to catch back up. Give it just a second. We should be fine. Okay. Let's see if we are caught back up now. Yeah, we had lost our stream and everything. I think it didn't like my rant. I'm not sure, but really quick shout out. I want to thank Gary Wolf for the super chat. I appreciate that very much. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for that that super chat. We should be streaming. Let me know if you can hear me or if you can see me now. It says that my stream is back and in good condition. Let me know. We were just about to the end anyway. We're about to wrap up here. I had a question from JR. JR asked the question of, and before I go into this, let me sure all's well. Okay, good. All right, so JR asked the question, on the Planet CNC software, I received my 2440 in June and haven't installed my software yet. I know. I saw that there was an update on the Planet CNC software a while back. You do not go to Planet CNC and get your download update. You go to digitalwoodcarver.com. Hover your mouse over the owner's menu at the top of the website. Go down to support and downloads. Scroll down the support and downloads page just a little bit and you'll see the software setup files. You'll see a 2022 column. In that 2022 column, you're going to download the software folder for your machine. 1824, 2440, 4848, 5100, whatever you have. You're going to download that folder and you're going to run through and install the software from the files in that folder. Okay, digitalwoodcarver.com, owner's menu, support and downloads, JR. Okay. Let me know. Gary, it's not your fault. But no, I don't keep my designs. I have time to design, but I don't have time to carve. And everything I carve, I sell or get rid of it immediately. I don't have. I got samples. That's about it. Let's see here. Fred Grover, Laney, when you said for the different size diameter bits have to be programmed, is that something you show new users? Yes, Fred. In your 2-hour orientation training, you'll get training on that, and as well as when your software is installed, your tool setting files and everything, you'll get the Digital Woodcarver tool library with your purchase that you can install onto your Vectric software. Yeah, Bubba. I make fun of her. I love her painting and everything, but she stole 2 of my projects. 2 samples that I had carved, and she decided to paint them. And not the... and it's not hollow, the background and everything, but not the best paint jobs in the world. We got paint bleeding into other areas and things like that. And yeah, so I give her a hard time. I love her though. She has fun with it. Dum, dum, dum. It is saying that my stream is good, but on my screen it's still buffering. So as long as y'all can see me, I'm happy with that. All right, let's see here. Let's get down. Hi, Laney. I'm interested in the toolpath trace option in Planet CNC. I'm not sure if I have the upgrade to the newest version to get that option. First of all, Clay's World. Are you a Digital Woodcarver owner? Because that option is a custom. That option is a custom script that I wrote for the Digital Woodcarver owners. And if you're a Digital Woodcarver owner, all you have to do is download the latest settings for the Digital Woodcarver, your Digital Woodcarver, and add those profiles. Change out your old profiles with the new ones, and that feature will be in there. Or get with me on the phone, and I can connect with you on TeamViewer like I do with all the customers, and I can just drag and drop it onto your computer and install it for you. Just that feature. Your choice. That was for Clay's World. Let's see here. I have nothing but a reply button. Everybody, okay, so everybody can see me. Okay, good. All right. That we went through all the questions. If I missed your question, quickly add it to the bottom. I do see a question I did miss. Hold on a second. Fred says, Laney, if I see two questions that I missed. Laney said, Fred says, Laney, if you rewrite the codes for the touch blocks or anything, would it be free to us for changing it? If not, will we have to need to purchase the new? Fred, if you were a digital wood carver customer and you own a digital wood carver machine, any updates that I make to the scripts are free to digital wood carver owners. John Thompson added a rotary to my CNC, got everything working correctly except the DRO on the rotary doesn't read anything. It stays at zeros. Then your digital readout, your settings in the VFD need to be adjusted, need to be corrected, because it should be reading 0 to 400 hertz if it's a if it's one of ours, and when you're running, it should be reading, it should be showing that. If not, then you may still have it set to where it's 0 on your maximum hertz operation. It would just be a setting. You'd have to get with me or Burl on that if you're a digital wood carver owner, John. Yes, so let's see here. YouTube.com/digital wood carver. All right, let's see here on the screen. Let's pull up the screen again. And let's get me out of the way. So in the digital wood carver, or with the digital wood carver, the quickset block, this is the starting position for the quickset block on the X minus side. Once we come in and choose one of the options, in this case it's the tool change option because we're changing from a touch pin to a tapered ball nose. Once that operation is engaged, I'm talking a little bit in the video, so and we click OK. Our touch pin is 1/4 of an inch in diameter, so we'll click OK on that. Sorry, we're at the mercy of me explaining and teaching in that video. Come on, press OK. The operation will begin and the X-axis will come in and touch off. It will then back away. It will travel around the corner to the center of the block, and then it will work its way on the Y position and touch off. Once it touches off, it will back away, raise up, and it will go over to the center of the block and set the Z. And in this case, we have to change tools. We can't set the Z with the touch pen. We have to set it with the actual bit. It's a tapered ball nose. So for the tool change location, we're going to specify a location, and we're going to click OK. And when we do, the router is going to move over to that location so that a tool change can take place. Once the tool change has taken place, then in the software, we'll come back and hit the pause button. That'll turn the pause off. And then the unit will come back to its position, its initial position, and it will set the Z and then move out of the way. So that is using a touch pin for a tapered ball nose bit is the starting bit, using the touch pin and changing from that touch pin to the tapered ball nose bit for the Z touch off. So that's how the quick set block works with the digital wood carver. Okay, cool beans. All right, let's go back to V-carve. All right, and there was one other question, and it was from, let's see here. I think we got them all. Let's see here. Ed Newman, I don't know if this is a question from earlier, but it's at the end of the chat. So if I use the machine bed to 0, will it go to the material height first and then go to my XY 0 when I start the program? Yeah, so it's not going to go to the material height. It's going to go above the material height to your safe height. So in the Vectric software, in your material setup, you have what's called a home start position. In this case, it's basically the position that the router goes to when you hit start. It makes sure in this case that the X is at 0, the Y is at 0, and the Z will raise up to 0.8 for this setting before the router turns on or the spindle turns on. And the if you are zeroed out on the machine bed, it's not only going to raise up to that 0.8, but above, that's the material, above material, right? It's going to raise up the thickness of your material, then that 0.8. So in this case, 1.55 inches. 3/4 inch material, 0.8, 1.55 inches. So it's going to raise up. When I hit start, it's going to raise up 1.55 inches, and if it's not already at home, it's going to go home, and then it's going to turn on the spindle and router, and then it's going to go carve. Okay? And Charlie, I was answering your question when we buffered, so I was answering your question about the speeds and feeds. So the dial on the router, 24,000 for number 6, 21,000 for number 5. Each router is different, you know, what their settings are and everything. But the RPMs, how fast that bit is spinning, times the number of flutes, the feed rate divided by that RPMs times the number of flutes equals your chip load, right? So the feed rate, how fast the bit is moving, divided by RPMs, how fast it's spinning, times the number of flutes for the bit equals the chip load. And there's chip load charts on the online, so you can see what your chip load should be or whatever. But those settings to get the proper chip load, you should be not just running all the time at 6. You know, if I'm running a surfacing bit, 1.5 diameter surfacing bit, then that dial on the router should be about number 3. Okay, you want to be between 14 and 16,000 RPMs with that bit. You don't want to be running that bit, that 1.5 diameter bit, at 24,000 RPMs. You want to be between 14 to 16,000 is a good speed for that. You know, if I'm running a tapered ball nose bit, I want to be about the 4, between the 4 and the 5, roughly around 18,000 RPMs. If I'm running a smaller flute end mill, I want to be around 18,000 RPMs or even slower and stuff. So yes, the dial, where it's positioned, it does matter. Yes, your RPMs. All right, so Charlie, that was going back and answering your question. Hopefully that got it. And hey, Brooks Martin, you have a great night. Thank you very much. Fred, Laney, can you show us a video of the touch off? Fred, did you not see that? I just showed that. Let me know if you didn't see that. Laney, when you said for the different size diameter, Laney, when you said for the different size diameter bits have to be programmed, is that something you show us a new user? Yes, it's something we show a new user. In your 2-hour orientation training, you get training on, we load up your software. If you haven't done so already, we add the tool database and settings and all to your software. And then we go through, how to design and carve your first project. And, we talk about bits and things. On the 220 volt water cooled spindle, we have, I would have to show it to you, a video call or something if that is possible. Yeah, and I'm more the software guy than the hardware guy. We get with the owner of the company because there would be some settings you would have to change, and we don't I'm not going to tell you to change your VFD. You need to read your manual and stuff on your VFD to see what settings you would need to change, but we'll show you how to wire it. Your existing spindle, we'll show you how to wire it and see what you need to wire that, to the control box and stuff. But as far as programming your spindle, we're not going to, do that. That's your spindle, a different manufacturer. It didn't come from us. So we're not going to guarantee, we're not going to warranty it or anything like that. We'll help point you in the right direction, but we'll tell you, look in your manual and there's like 4 settings you got to change and all that stuff. But, we'll help you the best we can. We just can't go too far with it because if something happens and all of a sudden the spindle's not working properly, or we change a setting and then it it doesn't do what it's supposed to, we're not going to be responsible for your spindle that you didn't get from us. We'll be responsible for our spindles all day long. All right, cool. Okay, so on the touch one more time. And then we're going to close out the evening, guys. Let's see here. Okay, Fred, before I get started with this, let me know if you can see the video on my screen. Okay, let me know if you can see the video on my screen. So the starting point for the touch pin is to be a certain distance from the touch block. It's going to have its own starting point. Once it's programmed to start the touch procedure, it's going to move in. It's going to move in slowly. It's going to touch off the X position. It's going to back away. It's going to travel around the corner. It's going to come in and touch on the Y position. It's going to back away, raise up, and it's going to come over and set the Z position. Now, in this case, we're using a touch pin because we're touching off a tapered ball nose. So we got to take that touch pin out and put the tapered ball nose in. So the software asks for a tool change location. We move to that location, and we change from the touch pin to the bit, the tapered ball nose bit in this case. We come back into the software, and the software went into an automatic pause during that change. We turn that pause button off, and the unit will return back to the block from the tool change position, and it will set the Z for that bit. Let me know if you saw it that time. The link to this video, Fred, here you go. I'll paste it in the chat, and you can just copy and paste it. It's right there in the chat, Fred. Copy and paste it, or click on it. Either one. Then you can bookmark it. I'll throw it in the email that I'm answering with all the questions that I'm answering back to you. And Fred, I think that was you with the questions. It's going to be sometime tomorrow before I can get to all those, but and get the quote and everything. I'll make sure I remember to throw that link in there. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, man, this was a great, in my opinion, it was a great Q&A. There was a lot of questions. I want to thank my super chatters. I really appreciate you guys for that. Your support, Gary Wolf and oh Lord of mercy, Brooks Martin. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Your support helps a lot. And great questions all around, everybody. Sorry that we lost connection and buffered and went. I knocked on. I didn't have any wood to knock on, and I, didn't realize my boards were sitting right next to me, and we buffered. I said we were doing pretty good. We started buffering, but I thank you all. I really appreciate you all. Y'all have a wonderful evening, and until next time, we'll see you soon.